Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the Lagosians podcast. We are going back into the Silmarillion today. Last time we went through the Ainulindale, which is the Song of the Ainur, and today we are picking up with part 2, which is the Valaquenta. We're basically going to get a little bit more familiar with some of these characters that we've already been introduced to in passing in the Ainulindale, so we're just going to go through it together. Basically, the Valaquenta, it begins with a short summary of the Ainulindale, which is what we went through last time. It then goes on to a section that basically just says of the Ainur, of the Valar, where it introduces the lords and queens of the Valar, giving a bit of background information on each of them and explaining how they relate to one another. Next, we are introduced to the Maiar in a section that's basically of the Maiar, and which are spirits that are similar to the Valar but of less degree. And then the last section is called of the enemies, which is when it goes in and explains about the cruelty of Melkor and gives us some more details on his fallen servants, specifically Sauron, who anybody who has watched The Lord of the Rings or read The Lord of the Rings is familiar with that name. So we're going to meet some new faces, but a couple of familiar ones too as we get into this.
Familiar with that one.
He's familiar with that one. Now, right from the get-go, I just want to ask, so were there any of these Valar or Maiar who specifically to you guys kind of stuck out? Like, are there any of them that were just like particularly awesome or like interesting to you? Because I guess that's the first thing we should start with is what's everybody's takes of this little introduction.
I'm the worst at pronunciating Tolkien's works. Ulmo and Aulë are probably two of my favorites. Ulmo,
Mm-hmm.
Because...
It's Elmo, but it's Ulmo.
It's Elmo, that's Ulmo.
Just imagining him with the Elmo voice talking.
Show him up out of the sea. That ruins everything. Don't do that.
He goes to tell them where to set up Gondolin with Elmo's voice.
Do it again, Charlie. This is high quality content, folks.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start over.
No, you're good, man. This is making the
Elmo
cut.
says.
Oh no. Oh gosh. Anyway, so you said Ulmo and Aulë are two of your favorites. Why is that?
Yeah, Ulmo and Aulë are two of my favorites. Ulmo because of, compared to Manwë and his very kingship type thing, Ulmo's like, he even says like his horns are very deep, like his voice and his song is very deep rather than loud, stuff like that. I don't know. To me, I like that. That and he. I'm pretty sure it says he gets information faster or before Manwë because he's the lordship over the water of the earth, and so he's just all in the earth, and that he cares for the children of Eru. He doesn't abandon them, stuff like that. And then maybe it's not Tulkas. That's what it is. How he's a lover of feats of strength, and he laughs at danger and stuff like that.
Do you know how I knew that you would love Tulkas? Because he's Thor.
Yeah.
Like, pretty much exactly Thor.
Yeah,
except he's a Thor who's
Ragnarok.
Yeah, he's Thor, but he doesn't need a hammer.
It's like when he gets into the fight with the Hulk in the arena, and he's like, yes! That's basically
yeah, that is Tulkas.
I mean, his weapons are his fists.
Yeah,
and
that
stuff
is
like that.
That is Tulkas.
He says he likes
nutshell.
wrestling, so I just imagine whenever he, as it'll say, that he's the one that bound Melkor, that he just comes up and like suplexes Melkor.
Yeah.
He's just grinning the entire time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tulkas. It says that Tulkas is he delights in contest of strength.
Yeah.
And that's that's the thing that sets him apart from his other brethren is that he's got this kind of joyful spirit even in combat.
I also love how Tolkien subtly says he's not very smart by saying he was of no avail as a counselor.
Yeah.
He's kind of dumb, but he's fun.
Yeah. Well, before that, it specifically says he gives no thought to the past or the future.
Yeah.
So, really, so he lives. He's just all about the moment, which is actually something we could learn from. But yeah, it does go on to say, so he is of no avail as a counselor, but he is a hardy friend. Is what it says right after that, which is
I
awesome.
underline that.
Yeah. He's awesome.
As
Tulkas.
a side note about the pronunciation on that, again, so Tolkien puts the umlaut, the two
Double dots
over like the terminal e's here when he's saying like you should pronounce this. So most of the time we leave out the e at the end. We don't pronounce it, but like the Ainulindale and then Aulë and Orome, they have the little umlaut over.
Or even
I'll just be the layman in pronunciation.
Or even Feanor, who has the umlaut over the a. Feanor.
Yes, pronounce this, please. That's what it's saying.
Yeah, yeah. I know. For me, I think that's the hardest thing about remembering each of the characters in there, because I don't quite know how to say the names.
You say it differently, like 6 different. Every time you say it.
Yeah,
it's
every
different.
time it's a different pronunciation.
Every time I've read it.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Dylan and Charlie? Any specific things stuck out to you?
Go ahead, go first.
No. So the one thing that I remember the most was whenever I was excited.
Oh no, I'm just kidding.
I was excited. I was excited to read, and I don't know how to say it. Is it Olorin?
Olorin.
Olorin.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I was like, I know this guy. I know who this is.
Yeah.
And because I didn't realize, I didn't know who Gandalf, is or was, whatever stuff with this stuff in the story.
Was it because of what you read, or was it because my name on our group?
Well. So I noticed that, so I was like, oh, that must be one of those things and stuff, whatever. So I mean, it's like there, but whenever I was reading there, I was like, it's like with Tim, whenever he perked up when we said Sauron, I was like, I know who this is.
Yeah.
I know this guy.
Yeah, so Olorin was, as Tolkien said, the wisest of the Maiar. So, and this is because of where he spent his time. Even though he spent a lot of time in Lorien, which is this section of Valinor that is a place, it's like, imagine where even the gods go to rest. He often went to Nienna, and who is one of the queens of the Valar that we'll talk about, from which he learned the value of pity and sorrow, and also this idea of essentially long suffering is something that is associated with Olorin, who we will later know as Gandalf. He learns to suffer and empathize with people, but for the purpose, not for suffering forever, but through that, basically wisdom through sorrow, and through long suffering, like coming to new levels of understanding and beauty and all that kind of stuff. So this is obviously something you see in the Lord of the Rings stories later.
When it says that he learned pity from Nienna, I always hear it's a pity that Bilbo didn't kill him. And he's like, pity.
Yeah.
Pity is what stayed his hand.
Yeah.
And
wasn't Nienna that one of her descriptions was
she's acquainted with grief.
Yeah,
which is Isaiah 53, by the way.
Well, I think it's Nienna, but it says that she turned maybe it was suffering or something into wisdom.
Yeah, sorrow. Wisdom, sorrow begets wisdom.
And it kind of dwells on how, when we're talking about the themes in the Aulë, the third one, that there was so much beauty that came even out of the sorrow. It talks kind of about
it
how
specifically says that part of that theme came specifically from Nienna.
In her Lamentations.
Yeah. So there is something about. So one thing to review a little bit is that each one of the Valar together, each one of them encompasses only a part of the mind of Ilúvatar, who is God. So you get the sense that the combination of the Valar and their sympathies and their lordships and all that come to recognize the fullness of who God is. So Nienna, through that, is kind of she is a commentary of sorts on the sadness of God and how there's actually beauty in the sorrow of those kinds of things, and that through those sorrows, wisdom and hope is kindled. And that's specifically where Olorin, who is Gandalf later, really shines, is that he is someone who, I think it's worded as, he kindles despair to hope, and teaches people to cast off the imaginations of darkness, which is exactly what the purpose that he serves when he comes to Middle-earth way later in the story. But that's thousands of years after this. In fact, we're not even going to touch on that in the Silmarillion. But shout out to Gandalf, because everybody knows Gandalf and loves Gandalf. But we're going to teach them why they should love him even more. It's essentially what this is.
You can ask me who's my favorite person.
Who's your favorite, Tim?
Tom Bombadil.
Tom Bombadil will forever remain a glitch in the Tolkien Legendarium. But it is a beautiful glitch. He is. So there's that. What about you, Dylan? I know you've been through this. For those of you who are just now joining us, so Dylan and I are much more well-versed in this. This is kind of our wheelhouse. This is why we're doing this, because we're trying to get more people to talk to us about this kind of stuff. But I actually, off the top of my head, don't think that I ever recall a time where you and I discussed who is our favorite of the Valar, or the Maiars are a little bit more straightforward, but the Valar specifically, I don't think we ever talked about this.
So who's my favorite is tough. I have trouble deciding, but I guess it's between Ulmo and Aulë. And Ulmo, it paints him as like solitary. He doesn't take physical form. And he's just kind of hanging out in the depths of the waters and stuff. And it says that Melkor hates him because he can't master the waters. But also Ulmo, because he is a lot closer to the people of the children, if you will, and all the people in Middle Earth, is constantly the one who is intervening, way more than anyone else does. Yeah. It's him. Of course, it doesn't directly reference this in Lord of the Rings, but we'll see Manwë intervenes a couple of different times, and even Eru does. Although he only says that Tolkien only says that in his letter.
I actually have a theory, by the way, and I know this is high stuff, but I was actually thinking of this on the way here, but I actually have a theory about Manwë at the Fords of Bruinen, because it never actually says that.
Right.
But I think that was another thing of him, and we'll get to this in the Lord of the Rings way later. But I think Ulmo intervenes more than we might think.
Yeah.
Anyways, but what you just said goes back to what you were mentioning earlier about Ulmo specifically, him dwelling alone, but specifically, you talked about how quickly he receives news. So just also a little review, just to formulate this conversation. Manwë is the king of the Valar. It says that in the mind of Ilúvatar, he was fashioned to be the first king of all of Varda. One of his main gifts is the fact that he has incredible farsight. In fact, it says when he is enthroned upon his throne at Taniquetil, which is the tallest peak in the entire world, he can physically see everything basically ground level and up. It says his vision pierces through shadow and mist and all sorts of stuff. It says all the way to the eastern seas.
Yeah.
Specifically, though, when his wife Varda is sitting beside him.
He can see farther.
When
And
she's
she
with
can
him,
hear.
she is with him.
They are the NSA of.
Yeah. When Varda is seated next to Manwë, there is almost no limit to what he sees. Yeah. When Varda is seated next to Manwë, there is no limit to what Varda hears. So together they are just like this beautiful power couple of overseeing the world.
Yeah.
However, there are things that are hidden from even them, even at their most, which are the depths of the earth, to which it says only Ulmo has seen. And not only that, but Ulmo's power is not just in the sea itself, but in every stream, every firth, every hidden aquifer under the land, anywhere where rivers run upstream. So this is another reason why Ulmo seems to always be more in the know than any of the other Valar about what's going on with the children of Ilúvatar, is because his reach is far and wide and deep, whereas the other ones are a little bit more limited because they are still in Valinor.
Was Ulmo in... Oh, I'm blanking. Sam and Frodo, Mordor. Ulmo with the little streams of water that came out of the cracks of the rocks. Maybe.
It does say that he's in every lake and,
he would be,
stream and everything.
Yeah,
so.
he would.
You would think that in Mordor, that water would have been tainted, but it wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Ulmo's reach is far and wide, and the thing that really sets him apart. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The thing that sets him apart ultimately, though, is what you referenced earlier, which is the fact that he is so invested into the well-being of the children of Ilúvatar. And this actually causes him, as far as him being a loner, him not dwelling in any place long, it says that he only returns to Valinor and meets with the other Valar in matters of great debate. Mm-hmm. So he's this guy who periodically shows up. Now, and
that's basically the only time that he puts on a physical form.
Yeah. So he doesn't show up for the budget meetings. He's just he's there for the.
So I didn't even move on to Aulë.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead. Continue.
For Aulë, one of the reasons why he's up there, I guess the reason why he's up there is, we've talked about how Tolkien draws this parallel with a lot of these people that want to create, and they almost want to put themselves in the place of God. And so Melkor is the one that wants to go out there and make stuff. And actually, you'll find out later that Sauron was one of the Maiar of Aulë, who is the smith of the gods, and it keeps talking about how he was crafting parts of the earth. And
it even says Sauron is still mighty in the lore of those people. So it talks about the things he learned from Aulë he never forgot.
And also, I don't remember if it says it in the Valaquenta, but you learn later that Saruman was also a Maiar of Aulë. Mm-hmm. But and Aulë has his moment where he does something that he wasn't supposed to do, which we'll see 2 chapters from now or 3 or whatever. and then just this like genuine repentance that he comes with is really moving to me.
Yeah.
And then he also has one of the funniest lines, I think, in the Silmarillion, which is not like he's not trying to be funny, but
We
it's
shall
still
still. They will still need wood.
Yeah, like we'll get to it, and it just makes me laugh every time I read it. But.
And also, just for clarity for anybody, you don't actually figure this out yet in this chapter, but this is the daddy of the dwarves. He's the guy who actually makes the dwarves.
Yes, which makes him epic.
Yeah. So he is if you wonder how do dwarves enter in the world, well, we'll find out in upcoming chapters. It's Aulë has a little. He has a lapse in judgment, let's call it. But because of his genuine heart and everything, and the genuineness of his repentance and swiftness of his repentance, Eru allows them to stay. So, and thank goodness that they did, because they're awesome.
Yeah. So it points on these themes of like these creators or sub creators. Yeah. Having this possible tendency to go wrong, but Tolkien gives us this one example of one that repented, but then it draws this parallel with him and Melkor, because it says that Melkor hated him and envied him and constantly tried to mess his stuff up. And he got like weary of trying to fix it. It's like the meme, like it's all so tiresome.
Yeah. It doesn't say he gets wrathful or anything like that. It just says he grew weary of the discord of Melkor.
And it's so. I sometimes think in terms of like the four elements Avatar in this. So you have Manwë, who's the sky god, the air, and then Ulmo is the water. And it's unclear to me like if Melkor was supposed to be. Of course, we know that this is all part of Eru's plan. That he was supposed to be the one of the earth and fashion it, but it ends up being Aulë, and he envies that in a way, and so he becomes the spirit of fire, I think. Yeah. Which we'll see with like the Balrogs.
And there's something else to that too, because not only it wasn't just that driven to fire, but actually something else that we'll actually discuss here in a moment, which relates directly to one of the Valar that I think is really interesting and often is overlooked. Yeah. So do we get your take on one of the Valar?
Well, no, because I.
Oh yeah, you said Manwë, or excuse me, you talked about Olori as far as the Maiar that stuck out to you, because he was a familiar face.
That's the main thing, because like I said, I think that like I remember there being some cool stuff whatever from the Valar, but I couldn't. But it's like struggling to remember the names. Yeah, whatever was tough for me.
Well, I'm gonna make the struggle even worse, because I actually have a quiz for you guys.
Fantastic.
I'm an ace.
If you don't mind, don't look at my screen, Charlie. You kind of got to look. All right, but here's the interesting thing this will all lead to good conversation. So number one, and Dylan, if you don't mind, even though actually I think a lot of these might actually take you a little bit, or I say a lot of these, like there's a lot, but some of them I tried to make them like. But so the first one, which of the Valar did Melkor hate and fear most? And if you surrender, or if you have
Elmo.
I was gonna say Ulmo. I thought we were waiting.
You like it? Oh no! Just whenever you have an answer, just let me know. You said
Ulmo. Sure I wrote Ulmo down.
Ulmo.
I wrote this down, and I'm 98% sure I wrote Ulmo as the one he hated and feared the most.
Okay, we got Ulmo as a vote. He's like, I don't even.
Manwë.
What you doing?
Varda.
The correct answer is Varda. And here's the cool thing is like this is a really interesting story, because actually in the story you get a physical representation of what happened.
Yeah.
I should have brought one. You get so in the story you actually get a physical representation of like this metamorphosis of Melkor, and then you have it like told in more poetic means later. So at first we're told that Varda, who by the way we're fixing to walk through her, she's the wife of Manwë. We've mentioned her already. She's technically like the quote unquote goddess of light. Like light is the theme of her, and this is why she's named Elbereth by the elves. She specifically starlight is something that has a specific meaning with her.
Whenever Frodo has the vial and he activates it, he calls on Elbereth. Yeah. So it's like the only time I think in the Lord of the Rings that one of the Valar is actually mentioned by name.
Yeah, but the elves hold Varda in higher reverence than any other, and it's because you'll notice that throughout the series they have this very strong preoccupation with light. So it is said that before the Valar entered into Ea, that Melkor desired Varda, but she rejected him.
Courted. He tried to court her.
And then she chose, when she came into the world, Manwë. And it said that he rejected and hated her and feared her most as well, because in his being rejected by the light, he said he fell into fire and darkness. So then, just by the nature of darkness being the thing, like basically, well, if the light rejects me, then I will inhabit to its fullest might the opposite. But the light is the thing that undoes the darkness. So like you have this Varda and Melkor being the opposite sides of the coin. She is essentially the Valar who is basically the opposite element of him. Mm-hmm. She is his biggest weakness. So the biggest things that mar him in life are often things that have to do with the government, so to speak, of Varda herself. So yeah, Varda is the one that Melkor hates and fears the most, even though I don't think he would tell anybody this. Okay.
I thought it was Ulmo because he couldn't tame the seas, but I wrote Varda. Now that you said that, I can see Varda.
So here's also the thing, and just a common thing: he hates all of them.
Yeah, well, yeah.
but there are specific moments when it specifically will say more than any. In fact, with Varda, it says hates and fears most than any that Eru has made. So he's not even saying any of them, but like out of everything that's ever been, he hates Varda, and it's ultimately rooted in rejection.
I think the ones it actually mentions are Varda, Ulmo, Aulë, and then I don't know if it says it here, but later on it says that he is afraid of Tulkas and runs from him.
Mm-hmm. Probably
it doesn't say that he hates him per se, I don't think, but it does say that he's just like running from him while he's laughing.
Well, Melkor in a sense, Melkor as well as all of the Valar are very much caught unawares by Tulkas' arrival. Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into that one. But yeah, Tulkas, and it also says that Tulkas is like unrivaled when it comes to strength. Mm-hmm. Now this doesn't necessarily make him the most powerful, because Melkor is specifically stated to be the most powerful. He can do the most stuff. Yeah. But as far as like grappling and stuff, Tulkas gets a hold of you, it's over. Is the theme here. But here, let's move on to another one of these questions really quick. This is something that's already been hinted at a little bit, but just as Melkor hates everyone, he's also in a part jealous of everyone, because if you recall, Melkor had a share in all of the gifts of all of his brethren. But it does say that there is one specifically that he is said to be jealous of. There's actually only one of them that it says jealous. There are some that he says that he has he covets what they have and stuff like that, but jealous has a different meaning. Jealous means like it means you're threatened by somebody else, the idea of somebody else taking something from you. Whereas covet is just like they have it, I want it, right? Whereas jealous is like there's something, it's mine, but you have it. Which of the Valar was Melkor specifically said to be jealous?
B. Aulë.
It is Aulë, actually. And we've already hinted at this, right? So Aulë. Olé. So yeah, it was Aulë.
So intentionally pronounce everyone's name wrong.
It says because Aulë was most like Melkor in mind and in gifts. Mm-hmm. So he saw in himself a reflection. However, the difference was Aulë was righteous. It says that Aulë, one of the great things about him, and I think another thing that makes him one of the best, is the fact that he says his desire was in crafting and in the thing made, but was always quick to move on to new works and gave freely. Yep. Mm-hmm. So like he loved it, but then was immediately passing it to somebody else and working on something new.
He just liked the journey of making it.
Creation for creation's sake, because like we are creative beings, and just Valar, we're also created with that special impartation of Eru, and he just loved being a part of that.
God of artists and entrepreneurs.
Exactly. And Melkor, on the other hand, it says specifically, over time, as he became consumed with the darkness, could not make anything original, but basically he became such a liar without shame that it even sapped his power to where everything he made was only in mockery of things that others made. It's also important to note, and I don't think we established this last time, but the original making of the world, there was three main tools, three main agents of the creation of the world. And you've already mentioned them, but you have Manwë, who's the Lord of the Sky. You have Aulë, who's the Shaper and Lord of the Earth in a lot of ways. And then Ulmo of the Sea. And then basically you have those three who contended with Melkor, who tried to undo all of the works of those three specifically.
It's a tie-in to Narnia, the Sons of Earth.
Yes.
The dwarves were made by Aulë.
Exactly.
Basically the one crafting the earth.
Yeah. So anyways, so Melkor specifically is very jealous of Aulë because he is very much like himself, except I'm imagining that he looks at Aulë and thinks of him as like, that should be me. The things that you have lordship over, it should be mine, but it's not. So there's this, and he also, I think there's something to be said about sometimes the things that annoy us the most are the things that we see in other people that are actually like us, you know? And I think that has Melkor really bad in this instance. Which of the Valar was brother to Melkor in the mind of Ilúvatar?
Manwë?
It is Manwë. Manwë, in the beginning, it says, in the imagining and in the mind of Ilúvatar was actually the brother of Melkor. This adds to a lot of the contempt that they have, because a lot of the times during the making of the world and in times to come that we will read about coming up, Melkor and Manwë are the two opposing sides. You have the one who, Melkor, who has claimed lordship over all the earth. He wants this to be his. And then you have Manwë, who has actually been given dominion over the earth. He's the king of Varda at this point. So yeah, that they are brothers in the mind of Eru. Let's see another one. Which one of the Valar, of which of the Valar is the following said? If the children of Eru beheld him, they were filled with a great dread.
Tolkien.
Oh, that must be.
Dude, you need to zoom in on that shot. You do.
So I'm guessing I can't remember the name. Is that the one that's like it's over the dead or the?
No, actually. So that's Mandos, but no, this is not Mandos.
Mandos was also Nemo, right?
Yeah.
Nemo.
He's called everywhere Mandos.
So it says his actual name is Namo.
Namo.
But he was called Mandos, even though that's the name of his hall.
It's the same thing as Lorien. He's named after,
He was Irmo.
Irmo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, they just go by Mandos.
But yeah, so of which of the Valar is the following said? If the children of Eru beheld him, they were filled with a great dread. If you don't know, just surrender. And I think Dylan knows it.
Are you guys giving up?
You guess first. I've guessed the last 2 times.
It's Ulmo.
For the rising of the king of the sea was terrible to behold. It says as if a mounting wave rose out of the ocean, and like you beheld his. Yeah, it was like it's like basically a tsunami taking physical form and then walking on shore. Like Ulmo revealed himself to the children of Ilúvatar only a couple of times in all of history, and he didn't do it very many times because he loved them, but they would be terrified of him.
That's just a big tidal wave just standing still.
All right. So there's is there 8 Valar?
Yes.
So there's 8 Valar.
Well, there's the 8 that are the most powerful that are called the Eretar.
Yeah. So there's in total, I think when Tulkas shows up, there becomes 15 in total Valar.
Yeah.
But there's 8 that are called basically, and those are the ones that we're covering.
the high ones.
Yeah, the main 8.
Yeah. There's 8 of them mainly. It says
Including Melkor?
No, there were 9, but Melkor was removed from their number.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, so there's 8. Well, there's 8, but then there's also 8 female. Right.
Well, so in total, I think so. Of the 8 who are the top, it's what am I getting at?
It's 4 and 4 that are.
Yeah, because you have it's 4 and 4. Ulmo is alone, and so is Nienna.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then you have 3 couples above them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
It's very nice. They have spouses.
But yeah, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Sorry,
No. Yeah, I'm just trying to get through my head because for some reason I was thinking that there was more than that, and I'm trying to make sure that I can keep them
So for the purposes of this story, the ones worthy of remembering are these high ones that we're talking about, because they're the ones that like have the most to do with events moving forward, and also. It's really interesting to see, like we kind of hinted at earlier with Elbereth, with Sam and Shelob, or even hinting earlier about like Ulmo and the Fords of Bruinen or whatever. If you understand how these characters,
Frodo when on Weathertop, calls on Elbereth.
Yeah, so if you understand who these people are, like the broader conflict makes so much more sense. And like when you're watching the Lord of the Rings and stuff, or reading it, you'll be like, like I know you become you'll be more enlightened. So.
Yeah, and also something we didn't say about Manwë is that it says that he loves birds of all types. He's the sky,
the great eagle. So if you have problems
with if the eagles show up. They were probably sent by Manwë.
Exactly.
Hey guys, that was just a part of a larger discussion, so make sure to tune in next time to check that out. But until then, please go to our social media pages, like us, subscribe to us, whatever. We'd love to have you. Until next time, Tim out.